Hey, it's Anthony Iannarino, and this is the box that just showed up from the publisher. I cut it open so I could take the book out and show you the first hardcover copies of Eat Their Lunch, Winning Customers Away from Your Competition, my third book. When you write a book, one thing is clear. For some reason, you got wrapped around the axle on some idea, and you actually had to write the book. It's almost impossible not to because you're so concerned about something that you write. I want to tell you about two things I've noticed about salespeople when it comes to competition. One, they either think way too much about competition and they worry about their competitors' irrational pricing, worry about their dirty tricks, worry about them lying to prospective clients about what they can and can't do, and ultimately winning by being unfair. And there's nothing you can do about your competitor. They're going to do whatever they want, and even if you ask them nicely to stop doing it, they're not going to do it. So that part of competition we spend way too much time on. The other part of competition, though, we don't spend enough time on. So we need to spend more time thinking about things like, how do I differentiate myself? How do I differentiate my offering? How do I create greater value than anyone else? As I wrote this book, it reminded me that I've never been in a business where I was provided with warm leads. I've never had people call me and ask to buy anything from me. I've always had to go out and displace competitors, and always larger companies that had much bigger money than we had, that had much better marketing than we had, and that a lot of times had resources that we could only dream of. But at some point what I realized was, I'm not competing with that big company. I'm not competing with my competitors. We're all playing the same game, but I'm competing with the individual reps that are responsible for going in and selling to that client, and I need to be better than they are. My company doesn't have to be better. In fact, a lot of people with companies that don't have the resources and don't have the money and don't have the capabilities still win because they create greater value for the client. Doesn't that just make sense when you hear it that way? You've got to beat your competition, and your competition is sales reps. And you can do this. So I want to tell you a little bit about the book. The first video that I did in the launch series here, I gave you an idea of what level 4 value creation is, and that's the beginning of the book. Actually, it's not the beginning. The beginning of the book is a foreword written by my friend Jeb Blunt. Thank you, Mr. Blunt. I appreciate that. So once we get through Jeb's great setup, then we get to level 4 value creation. And what this means is it's not your product, it's not your company, it's not your long history, it's not the logos that you have on a slide deck that's going to create value for the client. Level 1's not big enough to get anyone's attention when it comes to a displacement. Then we move on to level 2, which is experience. It's great that you've got service and support. You're supposed to have those things. From there we move on to level 3, which means can you produce a tangible business result? Can you get this done? But level 4 means we have a strategic outcome that we can help the client get, and that we understand how to help them with a strategic decision and those better outcomes better than anyone else. So instead of coming in from the left and talking about ourselves, we come in at level 4 and we talk about something different, strategic outcomes. From there we go into a chapter called Capturing Mindshare. And this is where you learn to actually create the insights and the ideas and leverage your situational knowledge and show up being able to create level 4 value. So this chapter is extraordinarily prescriptive. It is a paint by numbers. You can do this work, and we'll guide you through that in that chapter. It's also going to give you the toolkit that you need to nurture relationships over time. So what we think about with MindShare is your client has a lens that they're looking at the world through, and you swap that out and you put up a new lens and say, this is where your focus really belongs. These are the trends and ideas you should be paying attention to, and this is why you should change and why you should do it now. So we call that Capturing Mindshare. From there, we're going to take you into a chapter where we actually look at how to use all this information to prospect, because selling is about two things: creating opportunities and winning opportunities. Those are the only two things that we're trying to do. So to prospect, you need to have a plan. And that plan can't be to call once in Q1 and once in Q2 and once in Q3. You've got to have a number of touches over 13 weeks. I'm going to say 8 or 9, and you're going to use those touches to help shape MindShare, to nurture that relationship and begin the process of taking your dream client away from your competitor. After that, we're going to get into a couple chapters on discovery. Okay, so I'm going to be completely honest with you. Chapter 5 is like a speed bump. It's a hard chapter, but it's a smart chapter, and it's going to help you see things in a different way. And let me set this up for you in the cleanest and easiest way I can in the short time that we have here together. Discovery used to mean that I go into the customer and say, what's keeping you up at night? And I discover things about them. That's not discovery anymore. Discovery now means I go in and I help you discover something about you and your company and your results and what's possible for you. It's a different kind of idea. And to do that, I'm going to look at a lens myself that has 4 quadrants. The first one is, what are these people's subjective beliefs individually? What do they believe about what they're doing? And then I'm going to look at, what are they actually doing? What's causing them not to get this result that they want? And then I'm going to look at the culture. Does everybody agree on this? Are we going to have a lot of disparate parties all arguing over this? What's the culture going to sustain? And then where are they strategically? How do they compare to their competitors? And what are they doing and what do they need to do for me to help create a competitive advantage for them? So these are 4 quadrants, and you're going to ask these questions, because what you want to do is you want to have the clearest view of your customer's problem so you can help them discover what they need to do, and you can help guide them along that path using all the stuff in The Lost Art of Closing. There's a stack of those books sitting over there and a box of them right here. You're going to have to look at this individually. So there are 2 chapters on building consensus, and one is, how do you go vertical? How do you go from the C-level all the way down to end users in whatever category? Maybe you sell to IT, or maybe you sell to marketing, or maybe you sell to operations, I don't know. But you need to be able to go up and down and find the stakeholders that you need. But now you also have to go horizontal. You have to go and find people in other areas. So maybe you call on marketing, but the data project means that you're going to need IT support. If that's true, you have to be able to build consensus, and consensus is tricky. It doesn't mean you get unanimity where everybody decides that they all want to do the same thing. It means you find a way to get to yes, even though some people are opposed. One of the more difficult things that we have to do in the complex B2B sales today, and you're going to get a chapter that does that for you. 4 more chapters we need to talk about, so I'm going to do this in the quickest way possible. There's a chapter on becoming a peer. You have to sit down with a group of executives, and you have to feel like you're one of them, and that you have as much insight as they do. There's a chapter on being consultative. It means that you're actually going to go in and do the consulting. You're going to provide advice. So how do you do that in an effective way? And then finally, we're going to have a chapter on trusted advisor. So if you want to be a trusted advisor, you need trust and you need advice. Those are the 2 things you need. We're going to talk about how you do that because, again, it's individual. It's not situational. It doesn't matter if your competitors are bigger. It doesn't matter if they're rational. The person who creates the most value beats the other salespeople for that deal, for that particular deal. So that's what we're working on. One final chapter called Building a Wall of Fire Around Your Clients. Remember, we're out trying to displace them while they're trying to displace us. So we have to protect the territory we've already taken and protect our clients from this competitive displacement threat so that we can take care of them. So it's very prescriptive. So that is the book in a nutshell. Eat Their Lunch, Winning Customers Away from Your Competition. It is available now. So you can go to Amazon.com, you can go to Barnes & Noble, you can go to 800 CEO Read for bulk buys. But right now, go to eattheirlunchbook.com. Go out and buy the book, and when you send me the receipt, we're going to send you a workbook and some other things that you can use to put all this stuff into practice. I'm Anthony Iannarino. The book is Eat Their Lunch, and I'll see you next time.